Shalom. This is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Sweet and Good Torah. We have Rabbi Mordecai Darwish of the Gate of Mordecai. We're going to be talking about something very interesting today. Are we in a modern day Megillus Esther, where, we're heading into Purim soon? Megillus Esther, it just talks about the series of events. And on the surface, all the events seem very random, but it leads to the redemption of the Jewish people in the Persian Empire. And are we in a modern day, like, is the Gula beginning? Are we in a series of events that's leading up to it? And then we'll compare the two times we've been saved in the past. We've been saved in the Persian Empire, in days of Mordecai and Esther from the wicked Haman and Achashverosh. And then we were saved in Egypt. And we'll talk about the two models of when we were saved. And then we'll see where are we in current events? And like, are we close to any of these, or are things like, are the dominoes starting to fall and we're starting to head to something? We'll see, what we can learn. All right. Any initial comments or?
No, I would say that the Megillah or even the Torah, they give us the highlights. They don't. It's not like a play-by-play scenario, right? A day-by-day kind of thing. So it's kind of difficult. Sometimes we might be in something, but may not see it because of the day-to-day machination.
Yeah, it's hard to see it when you're in it, but we do have the Torah, and the Torah teaches us at least how to view it, like how to start, what to look for, like how a little bit of the lens that maybe we can start to clarify it. Okay, so let's compare the two situations where we had the Gula. So in Egypt, we were completely trapped. We were enslaved. I mean, there's interesting midrashim that say, like, the Egyptians were masters of like sorcery and magic, and we couldn't even leave. Like, you couldn't leave. There was like spells all around Egypt. So we were stuck. We were in slavery, and we were just being oppressed, and we needed a miraculous intervention from Hashem. We needed the Eser Makos, the 10 plagues, and we had to be brought out in a miraculous manner because there was no escaping. Now, in Persia, in the Persian Empire, escaping from Achashverosh. Oh, also, let me finish real quick in Egypt. So in Egypt, they wanted to kill the baby boys, but they were going to let the women, live. So it wasn't the threat of a complete, genocide. But their goal was like somewhat of the destruction of the Jewish people, and then they thought they could assimilate the rest of the Jewish people into Egyptian, culture and into their nation. So then in Persia, Persia looked really bad on the surface. It looked like it was going to be a complete, total Holocaust. The wicked Haman, his plan was to destroy all the Jewish people. And the problem was that we went to Achashverosh's party. Achashverosh was celebrating. He dressed up as the Kohen Gadol, the high priest in the temple in Jerusalem, and he was celebrating that the Jewish people were never going to be redeemed because he miscalculated the 70 years and the prophecy of Yirmiyahu and Jeremiah that says after 70 years Hashem was going to redeem us. So he was celebrating. So why would we go to this party to celebrate that we are never going to be redeemed? So we were just getting too assimilated, too blending in too much to the Persian culture. And then there was the threat. So we didn't realize it, but there was the threat of the complete annihilation of the Jewish people. And then Hashem miraculously saved us, but it was very hidden. Like, right, Esther became the queen. Mordecai, we had a great, Torah leader in Mordecai who was leading us. And I think Mordecai could see clearly like what was happening. So he was giving everyone advice. And then it was miraculous, but it was hidden. So we actually had to fight. We had to fight our way out. Like in the 127 countries, I think it was, that the Persian Empire ruled, we actually had to fight. And it was, those were the two scenarios. But we're kind of threatened with extinction. So where are we now? You want to
Now,
talk about that, or?
I think that people are looking forward to the redemption, like the Persian redemption with the story of Purim.
Hmm.
Yet the Torah tells us that it's going to be a redemption like Mitzrayim, like Egypt.
Mm.
And I think people have gotten used to it because we become a society that if you do, you have. If you don't, you won't have. Right? The quote, "God helps those who help themselves." Right? Is a big quote out there, right, in the world.
Yeah.
And I think people have become very, very so physical that they say if we don't do it ourselves, it won't happen. And I think that's what the early Zionists did. If we don't seize the land, we don't take it for ourselves, we don't work behind the scenes with the UN. If we don't do something, we won't have it. And I think that's what the
Yeah.
world is at right now. That's their headspace. And but we know, we have it from tradition that the last geula, the last redemption, will be like the first one, which is that God saves us and not us ourselves.
Yeah. Or right, or could it be aspects could it be aspects of both? It's possible that so here's another thing. So you brought in the Israelis, like the whole concept of Zionism, and they were promising like this secular redemption, not what the Torah is promising at all. Not through Hashem, not through the Torah and the mitzvos. Right? They promise the secular redemption, which seems to be breaking down, and we'll talk about that. So another interesting thing is let's take a look at the players, and the Gemara really sets this up in a number of the Masechtas, like in Masechta Vodazara, Masechta Sanhedrin, and Masechta Yuma, and it talks about before Mashiach there's going to be this great battle between Paras and Edom, which it seemed to be like Iran versus the USA. The USA being the modern, the modern manifestation of Western Rome. Russia could be the modern manifestation of Eastern Rome, and then Persia is Iran. So these are definitely, if you want to look at the, who's really shaking things up on the world stage right now, those are our three main players. China's also there, but they don't really have a central role in this, even though they're powerful. They don't really have a central role, and it doesn't seem like this is their main interest, whereas Russia, Iran, America are deeply involved, and we'll talk about that. And right, and then we have this other strange element because like instead of like having a Moshe Rabbeinu, instead of having a Moses, instead of having a Mordecai, Ish HaYehudi, the Jewish man, he's just described as the Jewish man, the Jew, Mordecai the Jew. We don't have this great Torah leader yet. We don't, and I think we're not gonna have that probably until Mashiach comes. Until Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, we don't have a central figure on the world stage that's really upholding Hashem's view of the world, the Torah's view of the world. So that's very hidden right now. So we don't have that. And I don't know. So what is it? Like, it's interesting. The Midrashim compare Edom to Egypt, and it says in like Shmos Rabbah, it says in Yalkut Shimoni and the Midrash Tanchuma that at the end of days there's going to be what you were saying. There's going to be 10 plagues again, but this is going to be put on Edom. And then the Gemara is saying that either Edom or Paras, probably either the USA or Iran, one of them is going to defeat the other. And the Gemara does say that, Edom will defeat Paras, the USA will defeat Iran, and then will rule the world for 9 months. Okay, you want to jump in there? Or? Yeah. And that seemed really crazy, right? Like why, America like ruling the world, like why is that going to happen? But we've seen something very unusual in the very beginning of the President Trump's second term. We've seen something very unusual from him. All of a sudden, like very quickly, the Gulf of Mexico became the Gulf of America. Canada should become the 51st state. Greenland, should be part of America. The Panama Canal should, go back to America. Even though it does seem there he was using that as a negotiation technique. So it's hard with him to know, is he over exaggerating to get some kind of negotiation? But there is this consistent attitude from him that it's almost like the transformation of just America as a superpower to the American empire. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to know, like, well, what someone is attempting to do.
Yeah.
We can guess. No one's a good negotiator is not going to, show you his cards, right? So he's not going to tell us exactly what he's planning, right? He'll just, show us certain things and he'll say certain things. But like I think all politicians do that. They say one thing and really it's just for show. In the background they're cutting deals and have different motives, you know. So it seems like it's the American first agenda that we're going to be the supreme power in the world. And like I think someone a wise man once said USA is like it sounds like Asav, right? Like our predecessor, not our predecessor, but like the son of Isaac, Yitzchak, right? And we're Israel, the children of Yaakov, the children of the two brothers. We're the good guys in the Torah narrative, and they're the evil guys. But there is a prophecy that we work together, right? With Rebecca or Rivka having the prophecy that the two nations will emerge from her stomach, and we know in the times of the Gemara that was Rabbi and Antoninus. It was Anthony, Mark Anthony.
So it's Marcus Aurelius Antoninus.
Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah,
Okay, Marcus Aurelius.
yeah,
And Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, right? Rabbi
yeah.
Yehuda, the prince. He was the leader of the Jewish people, and they worked together. They worked in concert, and I think that could be the age that we're going into, is them working in concert together. And maybe that will be, that's what we see happening, unfolding in Gaza and now the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. I think that's kind of where we're in the unfolding of the story right now.
All right, so I want to take a look. So we'll discuss this. Yeah, another thing too. After we take a look at this video, right? You've discussed a lot of time the Arizal Rabbi Yitzhak Luria. Like he's talked a lot about this fifth exile. That's the Yishmael, like the rise of like the Arab nations, the power of the Arab nations, the Muslim nations, and we really see that also happening. We see. I mean, I've seen recently they were saying Iran. I think they were saying before they may have enough nuclear material for like two, nuclear warheads, and I've seen quotes maybe around 6 to 8 nuclear warheads now. So they're coming on the scene as a nuclear power. And then we see something very strange too. We see the stature of Saudi Arabia really rising in the world. A lot of these negotiations between Israel, America, and Hamas have been done in Saudi Arabia, in Doha, and even I believe there was just negotiations to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, and those negotiations are being done in I believe in Saudi Arabia. So it's very strange dynamic now. Like the power of the Islamic nations are rising also.
Yes, we
There's
got to bring in Ishmael,
yeah they're
Avram's kid. It's a one big family, one big.
It's one big family, and then that's like the main struggle in the world right now on a global scale is the divisions in one family of Abraham's family, Abraham's family. So I want to bring in this Gaza video. So I mean, I think it's kind of a joke, but there's some eerie things in this video, and right, and Trump's whole plan for Gaza just came very much out of the blue, and just that Israel will, complete the fighting in Gaza and then turn it over to America. So I think this is kind of a joke, but there's some really eerie things in this video. We'll take a look at it. Let me bring us up here. Okay. So and then I think Trump reposted this. All right, so let me see if I can play it here. All right, so it seems very cutesy, but I want to go back through this a little bit and analyze it. Some of it's not so sneeze, but I think it's important to take a look at it a little bit. So here, right, so here you're showing right now after October the 7th, they're showing the destruction, the Israeli army did in Gaza. And my idea that we're in this Megillus Esther, like this was definitely one of the events, October the 7th. And then this Trump Gaza announcement is very strange, like Edom wanting control of part of Israel. So right here's the destruction, and then here's this supposedly the bright future. And so a couple of things to notice is right. So now you see the modernized Western vision of Gaza, which it kind of looked like before. Here you have Elon Musk eating hummus right on the beach. Um, the very strange here. It brings in the LGB, this weird transgender belly dancers and they have like the green headbands that now Hamas will accept the perversion of the West. It's all supposed to be a joke, ha ha. But there's dark undertones here that the Islamic world, they're being forced by the West, what's I mean it's typically called like the New World Order, all that stuff, to accept the moral decay and the perversion of the West.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the combination of it all is that the Muslims don't want any perversion from the West, and the West wants the kindness that everybody's free to do whatever. And Israel is kind of like the synthesis of the two of them that I mean, what we're supposed to be is that, you're supposed to have morality and standards given by God, and you're supposed to also be kind. You got to combine the two of them. And I think both sides take it to one extreme. The Muslims take it to we're going to kill you if you don't do it, and the West says that we're just going to pervert you to death. You know, they'll kill you too if you don't listen to them either. But
Right. It's like it's the dark spiritual reverse of like Gevurah and Chesed.
mhm,
Like Edom, I think is like they're the reverse of Gevurah. Instead of the self-control, right? The self-control and strength of Gevurah, it's the dark, inverse of like anything goes. And then the perverted, Chesed, the perverted kindness, the dark inverse of kindness of Yishmael, where it's just the cruelty. It's not the kindness anymore. It's the cruelty. And we saw the cruelty on full display, on October the 7th. It's no compassion, no mercy. Here, right. So here, right. And they talk about like the new light, which is very strange. And I think they mean light. Wait. A brand new light. And I don't think they're talking about the oratory here. I think they mean it in the Luciferian sense, the cultic light of really the darkness, which they want to pretend is the light. Right. So here now it's the playground of the billionaires, right? The beautiful Mediterranean and all the decadence of the West, the money of the West, the decadence of the West, right? Trump Gaza, all the glorification of Trump. And here's where it gets really strange. So now we see the golden statue of Trump. And this is really reminiscent of the golden statue of Nebuchadnezzar, right? When in Sefer Daniel, in the book of Daniel, the four empires, Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome, and Nebuchadnezzar wanted it all to be Babylon. And he made the gold statue and he made everyone bow down to the gold statue. He forced the Jews to bow down to the gold statue of Nebuchadnezzar. And that's, the Gemara says, what also caused the Purim, that's what caused our potential destruction by Persia was bowing down to the statue of Nebuchadnezzar. And here's where it gets even stranger. Not just the gold statue, but here they're
mhm,
selling them almost as like idols here, that people would
mhm.
purchase a Trump idol. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, it's amazing you picked up on that. But yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's getting us back to idol worshiping, getting us back to a belief in it's me. I'm gonna do it. If I don't do it, if my God doesn't do it, my little belief system, then it won't get done. And going away from the one true God. I think that's what's going to be each side is not going to give in until they have it their way. I don't think the Muslims are going to give in, and I don't think the West is going to give in either.
And I think that's the battle the Gemara is talking about. And we're stuck in the middle. And these events are to wake the Jewish people up. And there's been miraculous stories from some of the hostages in Gaza. I think the young woman, I think like Agam Berger, I think's her name. I think she got a siddur. She asked for a siddur. They found her a siddur. She was praying to Hashem. She was keeping Shabbos in Gaza. I just read another story in the Israeli news, very interesting. I didn't catch the young man's name, but he wasn't religious at all, and he started doing kiddush every Shabbos, and he said that the grape juice miraculously it stayed fresh. I mean, it's been a year and a half. It stayed fresh for month after month. He was comparing it to the miracle of Hanukkah. Right. So, I mean, I think for the hostages, some of them went through their own personal redemption, like they were in their own personal Egypt. They were enslaved. They couldn't leave. Um, and so for some of them, it was a great, reawakening, a teshuva, and I feel like these events are leading to teshuva for the whole Jewish people. But we've argued about this, before in the past, like how big does it have to be? Does it have to be as scary as Egypt or Persia? Or is it just a series of these events that's slowly bringing the process through, you know?
No, what are you going to say slowly? Like, we've been at it for close to 25 years. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not, everybody has their own like individualized journey, but as a collective whole, that's what's really going on in the background, right? As a collective whole, where are we? If our leaders, quote unquote, are secularized and they're anti anti godly, and they're the ones running the show in the Holy Land. So I don't think it's going to be like a one by one basis. One by one basis through the years, yeah, sure, but unless it's like a collective effort, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, no, and I think what's right. I think what's strange is we have like from Yishmael, we have from like the Arabs, especially like the terror groups in Israel, like they're trying to physically kill us, and they want us to be second class citizens to Islam, like they want us to be dhimmis,
Yep.
they want us to, they want the Torah to be second to their, Torah that they created, right? They created a copy of the Torah. And then in the West, I think it's a little more confusing. I think there is
They
a
want to
little,
kill spiritually.
yeah, there's a little bit of a culture war between like the Christians on one side, and then you have the secular atheism of the West, the New World Order of the West. And it seems like most of the leaders are all, from the secular atheist, everything goes side, like, all Averas are okay side, constantly pushing that. And we see that a lot in this video. We see the moral corruption of the West. And we're right, we're facing a spiritual war, on one side, a physical war on the other side. And I don't know. And it seems like some of the West are heating up to that old style Christian anti-Semitism of the Middle Ages again too. And then there's good, there's a lot of good people in the West too. There's a lot of kind people in the West too. It's not everyone, it's
That's the problem is they're killing us with kindness. They're too
yeah,
kind to us, and then we assimilate. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's the old style of what you say in the Middle Ages. I don't see it. It could be in the background lurking, but it's not happening. We're free to walk down the streets and do what we got to do in most European places and American countries and all that stuff. It's in the Middle Eastern places where there's exceptions there too. You know what I mean? Like Dubai and the Arab Emirates is also an exception to that rule. So everywhere you go, there's an exception. I think Morocco is kind of friendly. You could be a Jew there. Listen, there's exceptions to everything, but if you look at it on a global scale, I'd say the Muslims are trying to take over us physically, and the West is trying to take us over spiritually. And we have a
yeah.
battle on both sides. And if we don't like wake up and say, hey, let's be true to our nature, true to Israel, to Yaakov, then they're going to eat us up either one way or the other.
Yeah, no, and I think the real darkness of the West is it's starting to come out. It's starting to become more mainstream, unfortunately. Not mainstream politicians like in Germany saying, let's lock up all the Jews, let's destroy all the Jews. We don't have mainstream politicians yet. But the neo-Nazis are becoming, some of them are becoming more mainstream. And people can say whatever they want. Elon Musk, that sucker did a Nazi salute. Okay, you want to throw your heart out to the audience, you throw your heart like this. Okay, Steve Bannon, that sucker did a Nazi salute. I don't care, how you want to, everyone, if you're
Okay,
on the right,
okay,
no,
deal.
you want to call the anti-Semitism out on the left. It's there in abundance, but we got to call it out on the right too. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all these fools, the Tate brothers, the Barzilians, this guy Ian Carroll
No,
was just on
the
Joe Rogan. That guy's a neo-Nazi, full
the
blown.
Brazilian guy,
Barzilian, yeah.
Barzillion, whatever he is, that guy definitely, because he quotes some Torah sources and all that stuff. They for
No, they're
sure.
full. These guys are full blown, but
But
these guys are not that these guys are the main leaders, but
you
these
know,
guys are getting their opinions out on the mainstream, like channels. Like you can
listen,
pretend whatever you want.
listen. How
Yeah.
come you and I can criticize Israel, but they can't? How come you and I can say, hey, Israel, their government is doing some crazy policies and it's anti-Jewish, but these guys can't criticize Israeli policy, right? Anything deemed you criticize
Eh,
Israel, it's anti-Semitic. Why? Well, how come?
well, let me give you a great example. When it's Jeffrey Epstein, it's not that he's just a corrupt, evil person. It's all the Jews. But if it's well, hey,
Well,
wait. But if it's Hillary Clinton,
well,
well, if it's Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, or if it's their corruption, it's not all whatever religion they belong to. It's just them. But when it's
nah,
Jeffrey Epstein, all of a sudden it's all the Jews. It's all the Jews.
no, it's
Yeah,
not the Jews. It's
yeah,
the Israelis that backed him and
yeah.
his connections to Israel, to the Mossad and all that stuff. That's what they're talking about. It's not the Jews.
Yeah, but
They're not
isn't it
saying they're not
okay?
saying, oh, the guys in Brooklyn, let's go kill them because they're connected to Epstein. There's no connection between Epstein and the guy in the shtetl in the synagogue in Brooklyn. Right? There's absolutely no connection between them other than they stem from one father, just like Ishmael and Yitzchak stem from one father, right, from Avraham, and just like Yaakov and Esav stem from one father, right, from Yitzchak. So just because we stem from the same family doesn't mean there's a connection between them. And then people hate one person and their actions, that automatically comes on to the rest of the family. No, like they say, listen, like the Israeli government has some weird, unexplainable things that are not cool, and they've done that. And why can't I say that? I mean, you and I can say it, and we're not called anti-Semitic. We might call anti-patriotic. We might say you're playing for the wrong team, but how come when they say it, they say, that it's automatically anti-Semitic?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I mean, I think personally, like Hashem sending these people as a warning to wake us up, to start bringing on teshuva, to not letting us feel so comfortable anymore, in the gullus, in the exile. But I don't think some of these people, I don't think some of them are good. I think they're very corrupt to the core. Look, you want a great example? Kanye, right? Kanye's yelling and screaming, yelling and
Again,
screaming. Wait, hold on. Wait, hold
yeah,
on. He's yelling and
yeah.
screaming that the Jews are corrupting society. And look what then he does at this like red carpet ceremony. You know?
Okay, the Jews are corrupt. Which Jews? The ones in Hollywood that are really corrupting society? Yeah, he's right. Who does he have
No, okay,
contact with?
okay, but then
He has
he
contact
brings
with the guy in Brooklyn, the guy with the payers. Who does he have
okay,
contact with? He has contact with
okay,
people
of
who have
course.
thrown off
Okay.
Judaism. He has contact with modern day Esav. What did Esav do? Esav didn't go in the tradition of his father Yitzchak, right? He threw it off in his face. He's like, "Yeah, I'm Jewish, I'm Jewish, I'm Jewish." When he went out into the field, he started raping women and killing people and stealing. And so if you were to say, "Hey, yeah, Yitzchak, your son over here is doing a little stickles. He's doing some bad things over here," what were you going to say? Oh, you're anti Yitzchakism, right? Why would you say
Okay.
that? He's not talking about the rest of the Jews. He's talking about the corrupt ones in Hollywood that are
Okay.
doing some really
Okay.
bad stuff.
I hear what you're saying. No, and maybe, and right, and maybe it's the role of the Jewish people to stand up and say, no, this is not what the Torah says to do. This is not what we try to follow.
Exactly. We got to say that.
And these
We should
people,
be calling them out. We
yeah,
should
and
be
these,
calling them out, but we're
yeah,
not. We're like, oh, he's Jewish. Oh, let's be quiet, and so another
yeah.
Holocaust doesn't happen, right? They are doing bad stuff. Intermarriage is
Okay.
bad stuff. You know what I mean? Not keeping Shabbos is bad stuff. Not keeping kosher is bad stuff. Cutting off your beard is bad stuff. Like we can't choose sides and say, oh, well, my side's behind doesn't stink because it's my backside.
No,
You know what I
it's
mean?
a good point. No, it's to wake us up. It's to bring us back together as one people and to bring us back to Hashem, bring us back to the Torah. So right, it's supposed to be jarring. It's supposed to be like irritating us. So here's an interesting thing. I want to bring up this news story because this is an interesting aspect too that we're seeing something very different that we haven't really seen before. So one thing is fascinating. There is a greater military coordination between America and Israel. And we've really never, this is a very different dynamic also. We've never really seen this. Um, and it started really in the Biden administration after October the 7th. There was, I think the Biden administration, they coordinated, when Iran was sending all the missiles in, that there was coordination between, I think it was America, I think it was the UK, I think it may have been France, it was like Saudi Arabia, Jordan, all coming together to stop the attacks, the missile attacks from
The
Iran,
the fake attack.
whatever it was. Okay, whatever it was.
Fake attack. Hey, we're gonna throw 300 bombs at you. You ready? Here we
The
go.
pre-planned attack. And but then here now we see like Trump, we talked about the Gaza plan, so he's been threatening, that Hamas doesn't release all the hostages, and here was a show of force. So in this
You know,
picture,
just real quick, just on that point,
yeah,
when they don't announce it, they kill 1,200 people in one day. When
yeah,
they announce it, not one missile hits anybody.
yeah.
Oh, this isn't suspicious. They're not that. I mean, they're dumb. They're not that dumb.
I hear what you're saying. So here we see like a really powerful like U.S. Nuclear bomber. I mean, this thing can take out cities, and coordinated with the Israeli Air Force. So just a real quick. So tensions in the Middle East reached a boiling point on Thursday as Steve Witkoff, the U.S. Special Envoy to the region, issued a stark warning: if negotiations with Hamas fail, the United States and Israel could take joint military action against the terrorist group. So this is different. I mean, so I would say like this is another when we talk about like the events, the random seeming events that are all coming together in the new Megillus Esther, right? There's definitely a rising tension between Iran and their proxies and the U.S. and Israel, right? And the Jewish people are kind of caught in the middle of the whole thing,
What,
and
what,
we're seeing it more and more.
what did the article talk about? The U.S. joining forces with Israel to get rid of Hamas?
Well, it's just a threat to Hamas if they don't release all the hostages immediately.
Do you realize that they are just like a bunch of hooligans? In the city of Baltimore and the city of Philly, they've taken over a few neighborhoods. That's all they are. And you're talking about joining military forces to get rid of a bunch of hooligans with guns? Like, are you in what world are we living in?
Well, I think it's
How is this?
also
How is this anything? How is this like even a story? Like, are you? Yeah. I got a hammer. Oh, okay. You're trying to get with a hammer. You're trying to kill a fly. What are we even talking about here? This is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Gaza could have been flattened and the hostage is out. But the water could have been stopped. You know what I mean? A real humanitarian, not like a fake humanitarian crisis. They really could have stopped all sources of energy and ability for them to fight anything, and they didn't do that. Right?
well, I think it's
Tomorrow,
on.
tomorrow
Yeah,
the hostages could be back. Everybody could be back. Everybody could be back. They could be on their hands and knees tomorrow. Yet we got to join forces to beat people who barely have any weapons.
right.
Like,
Well,
like
I mean, we're running. Yeah, we're down on our 5 minutes, but yeah, I mean, I think it's also sending a message to Iran because Iran's the main backer of Hamas. But you're right, and that's been very frustrating to me too. I want to end it kind of on this. It's been very frustrating to me, like for whatever reason, the Israeli government's the inability or the lack of drive to try to rescue these hostages. It's been over a year and a half. There's still hostages there, right? They were really overpowered by the Biden administration to like fight with two hands tied behind their back, not do what they need to do to save Jewish people, but constantly bowing down, right, to the pressure. And right, like what the Israeli military is one of the most sophisticated militaries on the planet, and they can't overcome Hamas to rescue the hostages. That's been really disheartening to me. The amount of Israeli soldiers that have been killed or maimed because right, they're fighting a war against the Palestinians, but they're pretending they're not fighting a war against the Palestinians, and they're not fighting to win, and they're not fighting to win the land and then give it to the Jewish people, right? They're fighting just to, so whatever's going to happen, the Trump Gaza plan or just a new, Arab plan that's going to rebuild it once again so they can arm again. Okay, we're down to the last like 3 minutes or so. So final comments here.
Final comments is like
We've
it's
seen it
all
before, right? We've seen it
one
again and
big
again and again. Yeah.
one big salad, one big soup bowl. Like everything's in it. Like you're trying to discern anything. Unless we say like, hey, listen, everything's madness. Let's hit the reset button and like let's get things started. Imagine a brawl breaks out in a schoolyard. What does the teacher do? How does he stop it? Where does he start? You know what I mean? Just separate everybody. You know what I mean? Establish rules and move forward. But no, we kind of want to like, Timmy hit Bobby. Oh, well, Bobby called his mom a certain name, and oh, and this is that, and we started like getting into the weeds of things, and it's just you're never gonna get out of it. Who started? Where this started? What their motives are? We're going back and forth. It's the dumbest thing in the world. And we really like we want to label and categorize certain people according to their governments, according to their religions, and it's way more complicated than that.
Yeah. I will hopefully we're seeing the beginning of a new Megillus Esther, the defeat of Iran, the redemption of the Jewish people, and we can stop this. We can all go home. We can, rebuild the base of Mikdash. Because right now, right, it's crazy events. It's as you're saying, it's kind of like we've seen it again and again and again, and hopefully we're seeing the beginning of something new. All right, that's it. Any last comments or we good?
That's
We
it.
good
God
to
help us. God help us, but
all right.
where we're going is not
All
good.
right, so we're in it. We're in it. We need to do teshuvah. We need Hashem's help. We need the Torah and the mitzvahs. All right, we hope to see you guys again soon on the Gate of Mordechai and Sweet and Good Torah. All the best. Talk again soon.